Hello, let's continue with some lessons in theater. Now, everybody has scenes that they really don't like. One scene that I absolutely despise is a scene from the Disney Three Musketeers movie with Rebecca De Mornay, Keith Sutherland, Chris O'Donnell. It's not really necessarily the fault of the actors this is the reason I don't like the scene. In a lot of cases, it's the director. Okay? And sometimes that happens. So as an actor and as an actress, you need to learn how to overcompensate for a bad director. After all, it's you're doing the performances. Now, there are a number of problems with that kind of thing, but you got to look at it from many perspectives. And one of the best ways to learn anything is to completely destroy a scene and then reconstruct it. Okay? Sometimes you can learn more from destroying a scene and reconstructing it than you can from anything else. And in some ways it's to see, can you do it better? Okay? We're never belittling anybody's performance. We're never trying to say, oh, that was terrible. You're looking at it from a standpoint of they did their production. Okay? Now, you have the play. You're going to be in the production. So how do you do the production? Okay? It's now becomes yours. And you're going to take over the parts and you're going to figure out how to do it. And the best way to do that is to first understand what's going on in the production and then learn to destroy it and then reconstruct it better. Okay? So you have your basic lines. The script says, well, let me start off with the main reason I hate the whole scene. Scene opens close up on cleavage. Seriously? If this was for Paramount, if this was for Warner Brothers, if this was for Columbia, I might forgive you. The producer is Walt Disney. You're starting the scene close up on cleavage for Walt Disney? Oh, God, what bad taste. Okay? That's just straight off the bat. That's inappropriate for a Walt Disney production. Okay? But we'll get past that. So the script starts straight off. Welcome back. Did you dream? Where am I? We're in Calais. Calais? Tuesday at midnight. Where are my clothes? Do you have a name or shall I make one up for you? My name is D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan? I like that. I'm the Countess de Winter, milady. Countess? By marriage. But my husband's dead. Oh, I'm sorry. I've learned to live with death. Milady, I'm grateful for all that you've done, but I've got what? Important business. How mysterious. Does it require clothes? Yes, I need my clothes. I'm afraid they won't be ready for at least an hour. Until then, you are my prisoner. Would the prisoner care for a drink? Well, I am thirsty. What brings you to Calais? I'm on a mission for the king. I've heard that before. I'm serious. You're young. Young men are given to exaggeration. However, if you'd like to entertain me with a story, I love a good adventure. I came to Calais to stop a spy. A spy? Yes, I believe you. Aren't you afraid? A musketeer isn't afraid of anything. I knew it. I knew you were a musketeer the moment I saw you. You did? Of course. But D'Artagnan, if this spy were to find out you were here, your life could be in grave danger. A musketeer isn't afraid of danger. I'm dangerous. Aren't you afraid of me? You're not dangerous. And what am I? You're beautiful. Beauty, danger, they are the same. Now, that's just reading the script. Okay? Let's assume for a moment that the director is perfectly rigid, stupid. Like sitting there going, you have to stand there and don't move. You have to go here and pick up that glass. Then you walk over to here. Okay? You've seen this kind of thing in high school. Okay? So you have to look beyond that concept. But let's assume that that's exactly how stupid and how idiotic the director is, that he's playing so much with his world that the entire world is broken. Okay? What's your first problem with the sequence? First of all, where are their eyes? Okay? You're talking about Chris O'Donnell and Rebecca De Mornay. Very talented actors and actresses. At this point, throughout the entire sequence, their eyes are at eye level. They're looking straight at each other's eyes. Well, this makes a cold atmosphere because there's no real determination of what's going on. Because D'Artagnan's eyes are riveted on De Winter, but not on any particular part of her body, he's not falling for any form of seduction. But he's also not showing any emotion. He's being a statue. Okay? Her eyes travel around a little bit, but pretty much stay centered on his face. They sometimes will go because that's what a woman needs to do to create the element of seduction in theater. No problem. But again, it's a very simple, cold setting. Their backs are rigid. They are completely stiff. They are not relaxed. It's almost like you were told, stand here and do nothing. Well, one thing you got to think about with this, D'Artagnan's in Calais. He has nothing but basically a waist towel or a pair of shorts. He's standing there as if it were 90 degrees. Calais is cold. Okay? If he showed any form of shivering throughout the sequence, that might make it a little more believable as an actual play, and it would break the rigidity of his position. Okay? But this is just simple. Okay? So now we look more in depth. What do you have going on within the sequence? You have a flat meter. They are controlling it to such an extent that everything is flat. Everything is simple. Everything is a baseline. Okay? When you're performing at baseline, it becomes very difficult to create any particular variations. This is Rorschach acting. So in Rorschach, you are looking at it from a perspective of the eye. Okay? But you don't necessarily have to stay rigid within the eye. For example, you have the whole problem with language. Now, Rebecca typically as an actress talks low. Because she talks low, the male lead is almost always talking over her. What this does is it creates a negative pedestal. So by automatically creating a negative pedestal, you center the position that I can't actually put you on a pedestal. Yet she technically is put on a pedestal by the scene itself. The director's putting her there. No problem. Okay, we can deal with that minor fluctuation. That's actually a very interesting part of the sequence, to do it from the position of a negative pedestal. Okay? It's simple, it's easy. Okay? But other actresses, more experienced actresses would probably come up with different ideas. I'm not going to go too much into the feminine side of acting because every woman can look at every other woman's picture and say, I could do that better. But every guy can look at every guy's performance and say, I could do that better. And it's easier for a guy to look at a guy's performance than it is for a guy to look at a girl's performance. That's just standard. So we'll kind of leave that. Okay? So what do you have? You have a flat signature. You have a negative perspective on a pedestal. Okay? Now what do you have in the storyboard? In the storyboard, D'Artagnan is technically the star of the film. He's the hero. He's the prime hero. Okay? He might be considered one of the lesser heroes when you get into the whole thing with Athos, Porthos, etc. But he is primarily the hero of this play. Okay? De Winter is supposed to be an evil character, but it's not necessarily determined that she's the bad guy. She's just one of them, and she's kind of a lesser villain. Okay? What is she doing in the basic principle of the picture? She is creating a negative showcase. Because every time you have a hero and a villain, the villain automatically creates a negative showcase. Which is to say, you're not the star, I am, because I am the villain. You're just a toy that I'm playing with. And that is the overall perspective of what villains do to heroes in production. But that's also written directly into the dialogue. That's also directed by the director. Okay? So far, everything that is taking place is just what the script said and what the director said. There's no variation at all. So how do you start creating the variation? Some of it is in minute things. D'Artagnan shivering would break the negative showcase. As a hero, he needs to take control of the entire scene. Even though he's not the star of the scene, he has to take control of the scene because he's the overall hero and she's not the major villain. So by doing a slight shiver, he would then take control back from the statuesque that he created. Okay? Now, Rebecca's performance in this is pretty much a walk-around model staring statue, which another actress might do with more exaggerated motion, so that she's really taking over the scene. In this sequence, Rebecca is actually in some cases better than that because she is keeping the scene in a flat sequence. They're remaining equal throughout the scene. In everything they are doing, they are trying to remain equal. Now, what Chris O'Donnell does, every time she makes a gesture, every time she makes a look, every time she moves, every time she pitches her voice differently, he is taking control of, he's taking back control slightly to make the scene equal, simply by the pitch of his voice, by doing something like a musketeer isn't afraid of danger. I'm dangerous. Aren't you afraid of me? You're not dangerous. But it's just the minor, tiny things he's doing in order to use the dialogue to take control back. Okay? Part of the problem is all they're doing is they're working from the dialogue itself. They're not even thinking about, maybe if I turn my head slightly, maybe if I looked my eyes over there and then back, maybe if I looked down and back, that would break it, because they're so rigid within the performance because they're trying to keep an equal balance. Now, an equal balance is not necessarily always the best way to do it. What the hero can do is by a simple gesture, a turn of the head, a glance, a movement of the eyes, a shift of posture, a slight body motion. Even if the director said that you can't move 2 inches, your body can still move. Okay? If your body moves slightly, what can you do with that? You can then take control back by saying, I am the hero. You're not really important. Which means the actress then has to do something else within the sequence to take control back. And what you get is, instead of a common meter where nobody's doing anything, you're having a fight for control, which becomes theatrically interesting. Because then it's no longer a flat line, it's an active line. And what you have is the hero is taking control away from the villain The villain then has to take control back from the hero then takes control back from the villain, and you have a back and forth play. What is happening is not with words, it's not in the dialogue, it's simply with gestures and with tone. You're setting the tone of the production. When you're working from this, you can create some interesting effects. And that's just some of the ways you can tear apart a scene and say, maybe it could have been done better in one direction or another. You can do things like the villain creates a negative showcase because they are the villain. You are the hero. Hero creates a negative showcase against the villain simply by knocking the villain through the floor. That's very easy to do with the way Rebecca's performing this, because her voice is low, so she's creating a negative pedestal. She's creating a negative showcase against you, so she's positively showcasing herself. How do you do that? You create a positive showcase on her. You center her as the star. You build a pedestal under her feet and showcase her. And the way you do that is by acting like a supporting actor in this scene, instead of acting like, I am the star. What this does is, first, you fade into the background. Now, a statue automatically fades. So even if you are told by the director to be a statue, fading to the background is easy. Once you've faded to the background, you then present forward. You present forward by a slight motion, an eye glance. You present forward by a pitch of the voice. You could suddenly just say something like, if we go back into one of the early parts of this script, you have I've learned to live with death. My lady, I'm grateful for all that you've done, but I've got, what? Important business. Now, the way he presented this is a very soft, my lady, I'm grateful for all that you've done, but because he doesn't really want to interrupt her, and he's kind of almost feeling sorry that he does interrupt her. And she says, what? And he says, important business. Like, oh, wait, you wouldn't actually believe me, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's important business. Well, you can throw that in several different ways. You can come out as a statement of important business, and you get a flat line and an equal balance. He's doing it that way particularly because he's equaling her. He's bringing the scene back to an equal level. Okay? He could have done it as important business, or he could have done it as important business. And the difference in that, the very slight difference in that, is you have the first version, the important difference, to tell you that it actually is important business and you should just shut up because it's important. And then you have the reverse, which is important business. Now, what does that do in the sequence? If you say important business as if you didn't actually care about the business because you've got this blonde thing and nothing standing in front of you, it's really not important. It can wait 4 hours. What else are we going to do? Okay? If you throw that line in there, presented that way, what you do is build a pedestal underneath her feet and showcase her by presenting her simply by the accent of voice, by simply saying that the business actually really isn't important. And that creates a point in where the hero is actually taking full control, and the villain has to suddenly say, wait a minute, wait a second, I'm more important than you in this scene. And they have to do something to level it out, to go over the top, to take a step beyond the script and go forward. Now that can be done by crossing the room, by picking up a prop, by a particular gesture. How mysterious, does it require clothes? The words aren't quite good enough to take the scene back. So you could probably throw in a gesture, a glance, a body turn, something of this nature, which would then accentuate the difference between the two roles. Then you have a combative situation, which isn't flatline. And once you do that, you're getting into a more award level of showcase. Because you're not just reading the lines. You're not just doing what the director said. You're actually taking control from the director and saying, I'm going to be me. A lot of times actors are afraid to do this because they're afraid it might hurt their career. They're afraid the director might not like it. Every time I hear that from an actor or actress, I look at him and go, what is he going to do? Say cut, make you do it over? And then they go, oh, well, yeah. So what? If you present a director with something more powerful than what he was originally showing you and telling you, half the time he will not force you to do what he was saying because he likes what you're doing better because you're taking control and you're doing the production. Okay? This is the difference between listening to what everyone says and doing it, and listening to what everyone says, doing that and doing 10% more. If you want to look at a performance and say, I want an award for this, or I think we should do it better, or I think I want to improve myself as an actor or as an actress, that's when you take the bar and you take the courage and you step over the line. And you do more than what they ask. You know, the worst they can do is say, I didn't really like that, let's reshoot it. And please try to do what I told you. And you go, okay. And then you do it straight-laced the way you said, which sometimes can bore the hell out of an actor. But, you know, it's, you have to look at it from several perspectives. In theater, there are many people. There are people that do this because they really enjoy it. Those are the people that get A's. There are the people that do it because they sort of enjoy it. Those are the people that get C's. Okay? And it's that kind of situation. And in some cases, people don't want to get better. They just want to do the same thing every day. Okay? At work, regardless of what type of work, you have the people that clown around and you have the people that give more than what is ever asked. And theater is work in that sense. So you get all kinds. But this is a way of measuring how you could actually play with each other, work with each other, improve with each other, and make a better production. Just thoughts on one scene. You could say I'm wrong, but I'm not saying anything bad. So just think of it from a perspective of what can I learn? And also look at it from the perspective of how did we destroy the scene and how did we rebuild it?